Okay guys, so today we're going to be doing another mini person edit, but we're going to be putting a person on top of the front screen, just like the image you can see at the moment in Photoshop. Very similar to what we've done previously, the last couple of edits. The only difference is we're going to add a bit of a reflection onto the screen, and we're going to add the image of the Spotify screenshot as well. Okay, so to start with, I'm just going to go to Windows, Arrange, and Float all in Windows. You don't always need to do this, but for what I'm going to show you now, it just saves a bit of time. So all it's going to do is put all the images I've got open at the moment up on screen, so I can switch between files. So that's Windows, Arrange, Float all in Windows. Okay, so the reason I'm using that today is just so that I can drag this picture of the figure onto this picture of a phone, so that I don't have to go through the process of cropping them out again. So I'm going to click on my mini person edit with a person on it. I'm going to click on the layer down here in the bottom right hand side where I want to drag across, and then I'm just going to grab it, hold down the left mouse key, drag it to the file I want it to be on, and it's place my mini person on that photo. Okay, so to start with, we're going to, I'm just going to Control T and just resize a picture of the figure a little bit, just to give me a better idea of what I'm trying to achieve. Then I'm going to click onto the background layer, the picture of the phone, and I'm going to click on this lock symbol in the bottom right hand corner to unlock the layer. Then Control T, and I'm going to resize and rotate the picture of the phone a little bit. So I want to make it a bit bigger so it comes close to the edges. So always dragging from the corner. And I want to rotate it a little bit as well. So if I move my mouse across away from the main image towards the corners, I can rotate the picture so that the front of the phone feels like it lines up better with the front of the frame in the photograph. I'm going to bring it towards the front, but not too close towards the front of the picture. Try and get the spacing even, side to side. Something like that looks pretty good. And then when I'm happy, I'm going to press enter. Okay, so I'm going to just zoom up a little bit. I'm going to click onto my person layer, and then I'm just going to move them a little bit more so they're standing a bit more centrally on the phone. Check that I think that the height looks about right. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. Okay, so what we want to add on this picture is a gradient fill into the background. So I'm going to click on my phone layer, and then I'm going to remove background. So I want to get rid of the white and the piece of paper underneath with that horizon line. So remove background. And Photoshop is, as usual, going to add a layer mask, clip out the outside edge of the phone. Now what you should be able to see, I'm going to close down the other file. I'm going to widen this one a little bit more. Actually, I might just consolidate it back on the screen. And I'm going to zoom in, Control plus to zoom in. I'm going to use it bars down either side to move around the picture. What I can see is that Photoshop's just clipped out a little bit too much of a phone. So I've lost the edge of a phone around here where it's really light and a bit blurred. So I'm going to then have to correct this layer mask. So I've got to bring back some more of the phone by painting on in white paint where the edge of the phone has disappeared. I'm going to use the polygon lasso tool over here on the left hand side. It could show us any one of these other tools. So if it does, it's the third tool down. You just right click, select the one you want. Make sure that the feather is set to at least 1 pixel so it gives a slightly softer edge. And I'm going to zoom in really close. The closer you are, the better for doing this next bit. And I'm going to start where I think I'm missing the front of the phone. So to do it, I'm going to press Shift and turn off the layer mask so I can see where the edge of the phone is. Actually, I'm going to set the feather to 2 pixels so it's a little bit more blurred on the edge. And then I'm going to select where I think the edge of the phone is. So this requires a little bit of guesswork on your behalf. It's kind of very soft focused. Okay, the straight lines are easy enough. As it gets towards the corners, I've got to plot loads of points to make it look like the edge of a phone is curved. The more points I plot, the more curved it looks. The fewer points I plot, the more of a straight line I'm going to get, the more it's going to look like it's been cut out really roughly. So I'm just trying to follow what I think is the edge of a phone. And remember, like anything, I could do this well, or I can do it quickly. I only want to do it once and I want to do it well. So I'm going to take my time over this part. If you make a mistake, so you think you've come in a bit too far or not far enough, you can always change that later. So you could kind of re-clip it. I think I've come just a little bit too tight in that corner there. But I could always go back and bring in more of a phone. Okay, so then I join it back up, so loop all the way back around to where I started. Okay, and then I'm going to turn my layer mask back on by clicking on it. Zoom out a bit, and I'm going to fill paint bucket tool with white. And what we should see straight away is the edge of a phone is now visible again. Okay, first bit done. Then select, deselect, or you can click deselect here. Okay, so it's done a pretty good job now. We're missing, the only thing we are missing, or that we've got extra is, like this bit of shadow underneath the front of the phone. And Photoshop hasn't done a very good job here. And actually there's a tiny bit there I've got to sort out. So just going to zoom in again. Missed a little bit on the front. So it's missed this little bit here. So same process again, zoom in, just select an area around that to loop it in and fill, white paint, deselect. Okay, I'm going to remove a shadow underneath because I'm going to add in my own shadow afterwards. So to do that, again, zoom in. And I'm going to click carefully along the edge of that highlight. All the way around. If I've got quite long bits, runs, I can do those a lot quicker. Just got to be more careful as I get towards the corners. And just take out these slightly jagged bits there as well. Okay, then I just want to loop up again, all the way around again, back around to where I started, to close the path, and then fill with black this time because I want to hide that bit. Okay, that bit of shadow's disappeared. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to zoom out, Control minus again. Once more, and then what we're going to do is now we're going to add a new layer. So I'm going to go to Layer, New, click OK. I'm going to move this layer in the layer palette to the bottom so it's behind the foam layer. And then I'm going to add my gradient fill into the background. So to do that, I'm going to use a gradient tool. You right click, sometimes it looks like the paint bucket tool. So you have a right click or click on the little arrow, select gradient. I'm going to use this particular tool. So light in the middle, dark at the top and bottom. So I'm going to start something like this. I'm going to move it center point lower. So like the white highlight is roughly at what I think would be the horizon, the middle of the picture frame. I can move this bar up a little bit to make it gradually a bit darker. If I want more of the image darker, I move this middle point up. If I want it lighter, like a paler grey, move it this way. I think paler will work best for this kind of edit. You can change the angle again by clicking on the bar at the bottom if you want to. You can change our horizon line, but we want it straight in this case. Okay, that looks pretty good, perfect. And just click on the move tool to apply. Okay, next thing we need to do is add a reflection for our figure. So this is very similar to creating a shadow. I'm just going to move the figure over a little bit more central. Okay, so the same as creating a shadow. Similar to creating a shadow, except this time I'm just going to duplicate the layer. So I'm going to right click on the layer, select duplicate layer. Okay, I've got top layer, layer below. I'm going to click on the bottom one now, and I'm going to edit, transform, and what I want to do is flip it vertical so it's facing the other way around. So the feet are at the top and the header at the bottom, like a reflection. And then on the move tool, move it down so that the feet sort of roughly line up with the feet on the other image. Never be perfect, but we're after something that looks pretty convincing. Okay, I'm going to zoom in a bit, Control plus. So I want the two sets of feet to line up kind of roughly like this. Okay, you could, if you wanted to, distort the second layer, so the reflection. So you could use edit, transform, and you could distort it to make it wider at the front. So it kind of behaves a bit like how reflection would behave, I guess. Or you could leave it as it is. It's up to you. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit again and just reposition it, move it down again so the feet sort of line up like that. And then press enter. Okay, we can change a layer mode on this to multiply. Is probably the best one. Multiply or darken, probably multiply. Okay, and then on the layer mask, what we need to do is get rid of this area here. So we need to remove this bit down the bottom where it comes past the edge of the phone screw. To do that, again, we're going to use a polygon lasso tool. So I'm going to click on that, zoom in. I'm going to leave the feather at 2 pixels. 1 or 2 would work. And again, I'm just going to clip a line along the edge of the bottom of the phone screen and come down and around the bottom of the figure like so. Join it back up at the top, and then making sure I'm on the layer mask, not the layer, so the layer mask, and then fill with black paint to remove that bit of the image there, and select, deselect. Okay, so we're getting pretty close now. What I might do whilst I'm here as well is add a little bit of shadow underneath the feet. So I'm going to add layer, new, layer. The only thing important with the order is that it's behind the picture of the person on top. So it's behind this layer. Again, I'm going to zoom in. And just like we did on the previous image, I'm going to add a little bit of shadow by using the black paintbrush tool. Soft edge, hardness all the way down, black paint, and I'm just going to paint a little bit of a line behind the shoe. I'm going to turn off this layer while I do it so you can see where that is. So just a little bit of a line at the point where the shoe might sort of make contact with the ground. Okay, then turn on my reflection, zoom out. Okay, we're going to do the same thing now underneath the phone as well. So I'm going to click on the phone layers here. So we want to add a layer behind it. So I'm going to click on the gradient one, layer, new layer, add a layer behind the phone, underneath the phone. And then we just do the same thing. So we're going to zoom in. And I'm just going to use a paintbrush tool. Paint a line across the bottom of the phone. Black paint again. Big brush, soft brush. I'm going to think carefully about where I think that shadow might start. So about here. Come on to that point. And then I'm going to zoom across to where I want it to end. Hold shift. Paint a straight line between those 2 points and add just a little bit more shadow in there. So it looks similar to the shadow we'd got before we started. And zoom out. Okay, so we've got a phone, we've got a shadow, we've got our image, we've got our reflection from the figure. So the last thing we need to add now is our Spotify screenshot. So I'm just going to open up the file. Okay, so as normal, we're going to press Control A to select all, Control C to copy. Then I'm going to click onto the image I wanted to go onto. So I want this image above the phone, so it feels like it's on top of the phone screen, but behind my reflection, behind my shadow, behind the figure. So click on the phone one and then Control V to paste, and I'll put it in as a new layer there. So what we need to do now is stretch that image to kind of fill the space a little bit better. So I'm just going to reduce the opacity so I can see the screenshot and the phone underneath. I'm going to edit, transform, and I'm going to use distort. I'm going to pull one corner over here, one corner towards the front over there, and then do the same with the back corners, like so. Okay, what's really important when we do this, the screen has got to cover, and you don't want to have to mess around with this afterwards, it has to cover all of the screen area of the phone. Otherwise you can have gaps in it, it's not going to look very good. So I'm just going to take a bit of time to make sure I've got that right. I don't want it too big, but I want to make sure it's definitely going to cover that screen. Okay, something like that. And then when I'm happy with it, press enter. Okay, I'm going to drop the opacity even lower so it's barely visible. And then we're going to add a layer mask. The reason we're doing that, is we want to get rid of these bits of image around here so that it looks like it just fits on the screen. So drop the opacity again, add our layer mask, and again we go back to the polygon lasso tool and we're going to zoom in. Okay. What I'm aiming to draw around now this time is the edge of the inside of the phone screen. Again, I'm going to make sure the pixels, I'm going to leave the feather at 2 pixels, and I'm going to draw just slightly past it inside of the screen, or right on the edge of the inside. Again, like before, I can be a bit quick. I can be quicker on the straight points. On the curves, I've got to plot more lines, more points, if I want it to look good. The difference between it looking good and not very good is not understanding the techniques, it's how carefully you apply them. As I come around here, I'm going to use that dark bit of shadow. I'm going to plot the points just inside of that. The more jagged it looks, the less carefully cut out, the worse it looks. Okay, so we're getting there. We're nearly halfway there. Just cutting through, just leaving a little bit of that black highlight, black shadow on. Cutting slightly inside of that. It's super blurred at the back of the picture. Slow again around this corner. Pop more points. Okay, join it back up again. Zoom out, Control minus. So what we've selected is an area, the screen itself. Okay, what we actually want to remove is the bit outside of the screen. So what we've got to do is go to select, inverse again. And now we've selected, you can see the dotted lines around the outside of the picture. So we've selected everything but this screen area here. Because we want to remove bits around the outside. And then we're just again going to fill with black to hide, and it removes a picture from the outside. Select to deselect. Last thing we want to do is we want our phone screen to look like it genuinely is on the screen of the phone. So that if we look at the picture carefully, the front of the phone is sharp focus. From about here backwards, the picture of the phone gets quite blurry. So if the phone is blurry, then the picture on the screen should be blurred. So we're going to duplicate this layer. And on this top copy, so if you look at where I'm hovering on the right hand side, on this layer, we're going to add some Gaussian blur again like we did before. So we're going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And we want to add enough blur to the edge of the phone, to the phone screen, so that it feels like it kind of matches the outside edge of the phone. So probably maybe like here. Okay, but we don't want, we want the back bit, this area to be blurred, but not this bit at the front. So to achieve that, we're just going to hide the bit at the front here. So I'm going to use my paintbrush tool, and I'm going to paint black paint across the front bit of the picture. So soft brush, hardness down, black paint selected. I'm going to click on the front here. Oh, edit and undo, sorry. Click on, make sure I'm on the layer mask. Click on the front here, hold down shift, draw a straight line across those 2 points. You can see the front of the phone looks sharp, the back looks blurred. Okay, and that is our edit done. Yours looks like that when you're finished. Well done, guys, good job.